We're live. Good morning, everybody. Alex Chisnell here from the Festival of Enterprise from a very wet, windy, damp, rainy, you name it, pool in Dorset. And I'm joined by Sunny Dhami, Senior Director of Product Marketing from RingCentral in, I think it was Ealing in West London. Am I right, Sunny?
Yep, correct. A very wet and grey Ealing as well, unfortunately.
Well, so it's coming for all of you, no matter where you are in the country, unless you are Tim, who's in at the centre of the world in Africa at the moment, right on the equator. Then I think you're safe, Tim, from what's coming. But everybody else, yeah, is coming. Socky in wet Cardiff, my hometown. It's always wet, isn't it, Socky? I'm planning on going back soon if we're allowed in. I think things are finally being loosened up in Wales, aren't they, with regards to the economy? I think shops are opening on Monday. I think similar to Scotland, Wales and Scotland have been a little bit behind what's been happening in England and Ireland. So let me know if that's true. I did see something on the news last night, a message. So welcome for today's live webinar, first of two. Second one's at 12 p.m. today as well. So as I say, I'm joined by Sunny from RingCentral. This webinar is looking through the cloud at the new normal. So now more than ever, and I'm sure you all agree with this, effective communication is at the beating heart of a successful business. I think it's never been truer communication over the last 8-10 weeks. The ongoing pandemic has served as a litmus test for cloud communication, demonstrating its effectiveness in delivering safe, efficient, and flexible modes of conversation, both internally and externally. So today, Sunny going to be covering an overview of the full range of cloud communication services available to SMBs, tips and tricks on how to use cloud communication to improve your customer service and relationships, and pointers on how to harness cloud communication in order to boost collaboration and productivity in your teams. And lastly, we'll have a chat on the lasting impact cloud communication is having on forward-thinking companies as they enter this new normal, whatever it's going to be. Thank you for joining us as well. Andy's posted up from Cleethorpes. Thank you for joining us, Andy. As you're all entering the webinar, thank you for joining us. Tiny bit of housekeeping. Those of you already using the chat function, brilliant. Any questions that you've got at any point during the webinar, I will ask Sunny those questions as we get towards the end of his presentation. Just use the chat box, which is on the right-hand side of your screen, and just type any questions that you've got about anything with regards to using cloud communications into that chat box, and we can both see them there. So on with today's webinar. I'm just going to refocus my screen so you don't have to look at me for the entire webinar, which I'm sure you're all over the moon with. So there we go, far better looking presentation. So Sunny Dhami, Senior Director of Product Marketing from RingCentral, using cloud communications to thrive in the new normal. The stage is all yours, sir.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And as Alex just mentioned, any questions, please do send them through. I really want this to be engaging, and also want to understand from your perspectives how you are coping in this term that keeps being banding about, the new normal, but also what you're doing in terms of your communication and collaboration between your employees. So I am Sunny Dhami, so I look after product marketing for RingCentral, and RingCentral are a cloud-based unified communications provider. We're the largest unified communications provider globally, and we've been around for sort of 20 odd years, and have always been focused on cloud communications. And it's obviously come to the forefront now, but it's been an industry that has been growing for a number of years now. And I think one of the reasons it has been evolving and we have been sort of moving towards the cloud is that actually communication preferences have changed. We're no longer all sort of, and this is pre sort of lockdown, we were no longer locked to a single office location with a single phone and your sort of PC on the desk, and that's all you were doing. That has changed. People want to be able to communicate more freely. They want to communicate with the tools that they're using, but on the back of that, what we've also seen is an influx of multiple different tools. Most tools that you use now have some form of messaging available. They'll have some form of collaboration built into those. And what we've actually found is the more tools you bring on and layer on, it's causing employees to waste time in their day. A survey by CIO.com found that 69% of workers waste an hour a day just switching between applications. They are going from application to application. And I mean, we've all been there where you're sort of deep in an email, and then a notification pops up from Salesforce or from Zendesk or whichever sort of CRM you're using, and you jump into that. Then you get an IM pop up, and you start focusing on that. And a lot of that time is wasted because you're switching between what you're doing, and a lot of focus is there. Along with the change in the way employees want to communicate, customer engagement has also changed, and customers expect their interactions to be effortless across any channel. I mean, we're all consumers and customers here on the webinar, and when I look to communicate with a utility company or somebody I've purchased something off, I will look to communicate them on whichever tool I'm using. So if I'm on my laptop and I log onto their website, I want to be able to use web chat. If I'm on my phone and I'm on Twitter, I want to be able to tweet them. If I'm on Facebook Messenger, I want to be able to use that tool. And for me, it should be a seamless experience. I don't want to have to go in and validate on every different channel what my problem is, why I need their support, and who I am, because we've got to a stage now where once you've logged in, you expect that company will have all of your information readily available, regardless of whichever channel you've used. And now for SMBs, we may not be using a sort of multitude of different channels, but what an SMB needs to ensure is that on the channels you're on, you are still providing that same effortless, seamless experience for your customers. And I think because of those changing expectations in customers and employees and what's happening, the playbook for business was being rewritten. And I think now, after lockdown and after hopefully after our sort of response to COVID, we will see businesses flourish once again. And in order to do that, companies need to be able to change to those adapting and changing expectations. And I think we're now probably in a moment of time where things are rapidly changing again, and in order to make those changes, we need to look at how we can adapt and adopt. And I really feel it's the power of the cloud that is enabling us to be able to do that. The cloud is simple. It's very easy to set up. It gives you the ability to work from anywhere using any device across sort of any location. And that's a real powerful trait that the cloud allows you to provide to your employees, and also for you to be able to deliver. And with RingCentral, we give you the ability to be able to message, video, and phone everyone together on that one single platform. So who are RingCentral? So as I mentioned, we're a leading provider of unified communications as a service. This is the latest Gartner Magic Quadrant for unified communications. And as you can see, RingCentral are positioned sort of towards the top right leaders quadrant, and this is a report that's available on the RingCentral website. But Gartner are an analyst firm that go out and look at the market as a whole, and look at all the providers and look at their capabilities in terms of being able to provide a unified communication service. As I mentioned, RingCentral have been around for sort of 20 years. And we are very well versed in delivering and deploying cloud communication services. And the sort of key product that we've got within our portfolio is RingCentral Office, which, as I mentioned, gives you the ability to message, video, and phone everyone together on one single platform. And I think that has been a very important ability during these tricky times in lockdown of how do we continue to communicate and collaborate with not only our colleagues and teammates, but also our customers. Businesses have been forced to move away from their locations. Some have unfortunately had to shut down altogether during these sort of last few months. And as we're all aware, in the UK, a lot of retailers were allowed to open this week, and a lot of other businesses have started going back to work and to working locations over the sort of last week. But what we have seen is even when businesses were moved away from their office location, they still needed to be able to collaborate. And what RingCentral provides is the ability to message, video, and phone all in one single platform. So the message piece allows remote collaboration and it allows you to stay connected and competitive. And RingCentral messaging, it gives you the ability to message individuals, you can message groups and teams, and you can promote those messages to calls or video conferences. And that's a really powerful application where you can have that sort of synchronous communication with colleagues, also with customers and guests. You can invite them into that sort of single pane of glass and keep communicating with them. And the one thing I speak to about with some of our customers and people interested in these tools are them coming to me and saying, well, actually, as an SMB, do we really need a tool for messaging? We can just text each other, or we use WhatsApp, or we use something else. And that there in itself becomes a bit of an issue, because you've then got your business communications being conducted over a consumer application, and you've got a comms which are business focused, and then you've got personal communications in there, and you're also sort of moving your business data onto a sort of personal application which you don't have control of. With RingCentral, we bring the same feeling and the same capabilities that you'd expect in a sort of consumer application. And you can pick those messages up on your phone, you can pick them up on a laptop, you can pick them up on a tablet, and it's the same kind of experience of sort of immersive messaging. It's a threaded conversation, you can share files, you can share links, but it stays in your business application, and it gives you that single business identity. When a message isn't quite enough and you need to promote that to a video interaction, you can do that on the same platform and promote what would have been a sort of single or team chat into an instant video call with a single click. Now, what does this do right now? It removes the risk of face-to-face interactions, which we're all sort of so heavily trying to restrict. It's got the ability to make audio and video conferencing simple and seamless. Being able to have a single click and start a video conference is a benefit in itself. I mean, we've all had to jump on multiple different video conferencing tools, I'm sure, and the first 5 minutes are wasted trying to talk people through how to connect their audio, or how to switch their video on, or make sure the right camera's on, or people quickly scurrying and trying to clean up behind them. I think we must have all seen the BBC interview where the interviewer's children sort of come walking in, and that went viral. I think we've now changed to a time where actually a lot of that stuff is acceptable. I mean, behind me you can see I'm working from home from my flat, and it's an open plan flat, so we've got the kitchen and living area sort of beside me, but we're all in this situation together, so we're now all a little bit more accepting of being open on video conversations, and sort of children and partners and family members walking past is no longer an issue, and I think that's a great thing. But it's also what we're seeing is a huge increase in adoption of video conferencing and the way to use it. And I think having a simple and seamless ability to promote a conversation to a video call is a great way to have, and having it all accessible via a web client, so you don't need to install pieces of software, is great, not only because it makes it simpler, but it also stops restrictions where people are in businesses where they can't install a piece of software on their laptop, and it can keep customers going with that conversation very simply and easily. And then we've got the phone element, and I think this is one of the fundamental elements of communication, but it's also one that kind of gets left behind because people just think it will be there. But in order to have a true business communications platform, generally as an SMB, you've had to go in and either spend a lot of money on an on-premise PBX solution, which you've had installed in your office location or wherever you may be based, or you're going in and making a sort of piecemeal communication tool which involves sort of mobile phones or involves landlines, and you've got sort of different connections if you've got multiple locations, and it's hard to bring all of that together. With RingCentral, we give you an enterprise grade communication solution which is still simple and easy to use. It's fully at your control, so you don't have to hire additional people in to be able to manage it. You don't have to be waiting for RingCentral to make changes for you. You have full control of your system. You can change call routing, you can add IVR, it brings in call recording, but the benefit is it's available across devices. So should you have to move from your office location, the calls come with you with your mobile phone. All of your calls are routed to the RingCentral app, so you are always able to take your calls. So you never miss any calls moving forward. Calls get forwarded to your voicemail, and you get a voicemail transcription or a voicemail to your email instantly letting you know what's going on. And that makes sure as an SMB you stay connected and you don't miss those all important calls, and they're always with you regardless of wherever you are. And what we've seen is cloud telephony has helped keep the lights on through this circumstance, but also through any circumstance, because it's a very simple setup. Because we are cloud based, you can go in and set up cloud telephony instantly. You can go online, make a purchase for a service, and you can be up and ready to go within 5 minutes. One of the other big differences is that we offer out of the box plug and play integrations. So as I mentioned, cloud is enabling us to be flexible and to be able to work. You may also have other cloud applications, so your CRM or your ticketing platform, or even your productivity suites if you're using Google or Microsoft Office. RingCentral integrates natively into those. And what that means is, as I mentioned earlier on, people aren't having to switch between applications to do multiple different things. You can integrate RingCentral directly into those applications. So you can, if you've got a call in, it comes in through your CRM. It can identify if you've got a customer calling in and it brings their call records up. If it's a new caller, it automatically creates a screen and you can start making reports. If you're on Chrome and you want to click through a record, it's got click to dial. So you can start becoming more efficient and making the best out of the applications you've already invested in, and it makes those applications even more powerful. It's a cloud-based solution, so you can download apps instantly on any device, and as soon as you log in, it works. So if you switch from an office location where you used to have a phone and now you're at home and you want to work through your laptop, which is the way I'm working, I've got all of my telephony applications and messaging applications all on my laptop and my mobile phone. All of my calls get routed directly through to me, so I don't miss a call wherever I am. And because it's cloud and web-based, you're not having to hog around hard devices and pay for physical devices. It's all software based, so it's all browser based, and you can use it. And if you do need devices, you can get those shipped to you every day, next day, sorry. And what we're seeing here is even before the lockdown hit and COVID hit, we've been moving towards remote work for years. A Cavell piece of research found that 83% of businesses already had some form of remote working and remote work available in 2019. And that has only been sort of expedited now with what we've seen, and with lockdown, that's obviously ramped that up. But we were seeing very, very fast growth in remote work. What we've also seen is people looking for jobs and applying for jobs want to have an element of mobility or remote work built into that role. And yes, there are some roles where remote working is just not possible, and those have been some of the sort of key workers that we've seen, who've gone sort of above and beyond over these tricky last few months. But there are also some sort of manufacturing and other industries which need you to be at a location and working there together, and that's sort of relative to that role. There's not a lot that can be done, but there are a whole host of other roles which traditionally we felt that weren't able to be remote or be mobile, and because we've been forced into it, we've sort of had our eyes open to actually this can be done, and we can make it available. And I think the key thing is looking at moving forward, how you as a business owner or as a manager or a leader within your business, how you make mobility and communications available for your employees. What are you looking to do moving forward in order to be able to support your employees? So being able to allow employees to be remote and giving them the tools and access to do so gives you the flexibility to offer that sort of well-being and safety to your employees. It means they moving forward. So I'm sure we will see changes in the way not only education but other businesses work post lockdown and post COVID.
Yeah, and you can see, I think I read it yesterday or the day before, what the government's trying to do with the summer program and bringing in different mentoring organizations. So clearly, to leverage that, it's going to have to be done online, etc. Thanks, Aaron. Let me scoot back up to where the questions started because I have skipped forward a little bit. Michael says, isn't it more expensive for SMBs to be investing in new tools now? And I can imagine you got a pretty good answer for that one, Sonny.
Yeah, I mean, investing in any new tool always will come with some form of cost. I think what needs to be done is an audit of actually why are you investing in certain tools. As I mentioned with RingCentral, that one of the benefits of RingCentral is that we can consolidate a number of services that you may already have, and actually when you look at the cost, it's a like-for-like cost that you'd be paying for your sort of phone solution. But with RingCentral, we give you the ability to include audio conferencing, video conferencing, call recording, mobile apps, the live reporting. So actually, when you look at it, there are a whole host of other services like mobile phones, like an element of a call recording service that you may be paying for separately, which RingCentral can consolidate and provide you a better sort of return on that investment. I think also the other piece businesses need to look at is what investing in some form of new tool allows you to do. So if in RingCentral's example, if the current system you're using is an on-premise solution, which means everybody has to be in the office, a day in the office costs you X amount. Whereas if you've got a cloud-based service and you're able to work from home and continue to take those calls but not be in the office, you've paid for that cloud service, but now your employees are still able to work even when the office is closed. And integrating into the other services that you have is also an additional benefit. So yes, there is a cost associated with setting up a new tool, but I think looking at it as a bigger picture in terms of what other services can you now switch off and what additional benefits does this new tool give you, allows you to sort of work out what that cost is. And if you go to the RingCentral website, we've got a whole host of white papers and data sheets which help you work out that total cost of ownership and figure out whether it is sort of cost efficient for you to make that change.
Cool. Thank you very much for that answer. David's commented, which I'll read it anyway. On the point of business continuity, I've been staggered at how unprepared some businesses have been. Likewise, including large professional firms. Usually, large professional firms just not as agile, are they? Make these decisions. Business continuity, the clues in the term, enabling workforce to continue to perform roles if core functions or resources fall down. The only way to do it. Truth is, costs prove the problem, and a belief that the catastrophic event would never happen.
I completely agree. I think
Me too.
SMBs were actually, as you just mentioned there, better equipped because they were a lot more agile and they could make decisions a lot quicker. So we had a huge amount of SMBs come up to us as soon as this happened and just told us they want the service switched on, they'll be ready to move tomorrow, and they're good to go. And it was just about enabling them and switching them on, and they ran with everything else. With larger firms, yes, there's a much longer and harder sort of chain of command to go through and get approvals for, but also their sort of business continuity generally was a disaster site. So they moved from one location to another, and that was their business continuity plan. I don't think I think you're right of a belief that an event like this would never happen. We also worked with a number of businesses when the UK sort of faced different terror attacks, where they actually made these changes to enable people not to have to come into an office location. So that drove some behavior, and they were prepared from that point. But yeah, I completely agree that there are a very large number of businesses that were very unprepared, and the shift we're seeing now is that business continuity is a disaster site as option one, mobility as option two, and then they're looking at even other sort of disaster planning of what happens if they can't do X, Y, or Z. So yeah, completely agree that it's a bit of a surprise, but I don't think businesses will be making that same mistake now, and will be baking this in as a core part of business continuity, of making sure employees are ready to work. And it's simple things like access to hardware. As soon as this happened, there was an influx of laptop orders, and actually I read a report that Google weren't even prepared to be able to offer their employees Chromebooks because they'd sold out so many, and they had so many back orders of people trying to order Chromebooks to get people ready. And I think we all saw that the delays on laptop screens, on desk chairs. I mean, I am not really prepared, or wasn't really prepared, to work from home because I was an office-based employee. So when lockdown was first announced, I was using my dining table chair, and after about 2 weeks of that and very, very painful backache, I had to quickly go in and get a proper desk seat to be able to do that. But there are little things which we weren't even prepared about, let alone the sort of larger scale tools and capabilities to work from home. So yeah, it's been interesting, but I think a lot of businesses now will put in home working functionality as a fundamental when they hire people.
Yeah, Ben says, I'm hoping that in the future more people will now opt for cloud-based meetings rather than being stuck in traffic trying to meet people in person, as was the old norm. And yeah, do you know what, Ben, I hosted a chap called Magnus Grimelund from Antler, which is like a global startup company with like 8 offices around the world. And he said, I hope the one thing that comes out of this is I've had to go to a different continent for a 45-minute meeting, one 45-minute meeting. And if it stops that, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at having RingCentral meetings as part of reducing the need to travel, but I think what we've just been through now really does amplify that. And I've had to do the same thing. I've had to travel and sort of fly to different locations for a face-to-face meeting, which it now just seems crazy, especially with the travel restrictions that are potentially being put in place for people, of having to go into quarantine for 2 weeks after traveling from somewhere. I just don't think it's going to be feasible in the short term, at least, for business travel to pick up at all. And one of the other key things I found is we deployed our services for a business just before lockdown, and they were deploying this not because of lockdown, but because of wanting to move to a cloud-based communications platform. And a couple of weeks in, we had a call with them just to see how they were doing. And what they actually said is they never realized how inefficient their face-to-face meetings were, because they'd get into a meeting and first 5 or 10 minutes is a bit of a chit chat and waiting for latecomers to turn up, and then they'd get through and no one would really have an agenda, so they'd get through their meeting, then they'd all leave and a few people hadn't taken their notes or actions and it was different. And they said actually now with an email invite and a video meeting, people are putting the agenda in the body of the email. They get on the meeting and yes, a couple of times people have joined and their audio is not connected or their video is not connected, but they get straight down to business. They go through it, and those meetings that used to be an hour are now cut down to 30 minutes because it is just getting down to the sort of crux of it. So yeah, I think there'll be a big change in the way business travel is conducted moving forward.
I do, and I do think the airlines, once they get back up and running, are going to take a massive hit on the business travel, and maybe those with the bigger budgets. I've heard a friend of mine has a private jet company, and they were absolutely killing it, because those who don't want to be surrounded with anybody else, wearing masks and all the rest of it, can afford to do that. But the majority of business travel, I think it's going to take a big hit. It was interesting, wasn't it? Like beforehand, you'd be having some meetings just via audio, and you still felt that need to have a face-to-face meeting. Yet all of a sudden, if you actually see someone on the other screen, like I'm looking at you now, you just get so much more done, don't you? It's like the trust thing, I think, as well. And I found myself ended up, before this happened, literally going to London from Poole here in Dorset, maybe, once a month, to I was suddenly there 3 days a week, and I was just questioning, the reason for the meetings, because so many of them can be done without that. And again, like you said, they're an hour, but that hour is just filler, isn't it? So much of it's filler. Okay, so finishing off, we're coming up towards the end. I've still got a couple of questions to position to Sunny. So let me have a look. I know I missed one from Jenny, who says, does RingCentral's telephony forward to PSTN if there are issues with connectivity?
Yeah, so you can forward calls on to any other PSTN line, whether that be mobile, home phone, regardless, or as I mentioned, we've got the RingCentral app, so you can take RingCentral calls on your mobile device with your mobile signal. So there are a whole host of options to make sure that your calls continue to come through regardless of your connectivity issues. Yeah,
and maybe the last word, and then I'll let Sunny finish with the last message and a way to get in touch with you. But just to finish up with, unless anyone else has got a last question you want to pop in there, I'll just go finish up with Erin, who says, on that point, have RingCentral done any projections on what the potential move to home working might be, e.g. taking London as an example?
So we were actually doing some work with Cavell, who were an analyst firm, just before lockdown happened on the move to remote working. And as there's early stats that I showed in terms of sort of 83% of businesses did have some form of remote working available in 2019. And then it was 82 and 80% of employees want to have a remote working option when they apply for a job. What we haven't done the full research right now, and we're about to start going on that. What we did see is a huge increase in the types of jobs being offered at the start of this year for remote working. So if you go on to our website, if you go onto ringcentral.co.uk, we've got a blog which has got a whole remote working section, and we have a piece of research there that we did in December and January, which did an investigation on how many jobs available were for remote workers and which industries and which areas. And what we found was actually that it was the kind of design elements, so designers and copywriters, that were most remote working roles, and they were across the board. So there were quite a few in London that were remote working roles, but also for companies based in sort of Manchester and Birmingham, and also across the US and Australia. We are about to restart another study to look at what the impact of COVID has done. From anecdotally, from what I've seen, there is a big shift. We've spoken to a few businesses over the last 3 weeks who have decided that they are closing their offices through to the end of the year, so that they won't be asking any of their employees to come back through to the end of the year. So they've deployed our services to make sure their employees and customers are connected. But from next year, they are looking at downsizing their physical locations, and will be shifting to sort of a more remote working, and that's across the UK. That's not just London. So I definitely do see a big push on more and more employees being remote, and offices being run at not sort of 100% capacity, to allow people the option to have to be able to work from home and come in. And one interesting thing that I saw was an architectural firm that we work with, and what they said is actually, when their architects come together, that even though video meetings helps them, they still prefer being in a drawing room and being able to work on plans together. So what they're doing is giving them project days. So on a Monday and Tuesday, one group of architects get the office meeting rooms as their project days. The next group will get Wednesday and Thursday, and the final group will get Friday. So they will have an element of being in the office 1 or 2 days, but they will get that space sort of exclusive to them, and then they'll sort of switch into sort of shifts of being allowed access to the office. So yeah, I think there will be a shift, there will be a change, and we'll be looking at how we can support businesses through that, but also looking at some studies to be able to confirm what exactly that change looks like.
Yeah, it's interesting. My main business is making podcasts for different brands, and the conversation I had with like the biggest flexible office workspace provider in the UK, and they said, well, whilst initially everything fell off the edge of a cliff because all these businesses were, handing in their 30-day notices, what's happened now is that they're getting loads and loads of inquiries from people who actually want smaller offices. So there's more volume. It's just that I guess from their point of view, the margin might be slightly less, but they'll get more business from it. So yeah. Interesting how people are reacting already. Erin says, thanks for the insight. So just wrapping up, guys, we're literally on 11 o'clock. One last question, maybe you can squeeze in, Sonny, if you're all right. Peter says, is AI relevant to your systems?
Yeah, so we integrate with AI and chatbots, and we've got a completely open platform. So we try and build in AI as much as possible. Some of the use cases are annotating meetings. We've got an integration for the financial services industry, which for compliance. So if say you're a mortgage advisor, you're supposed to give factual information and not your opinion. What this tool does is integrate into our meetings platform. And if it hears terms like, I think you should, or in my opinion, or there are buzzwords you can put in, it will call that out, record that element of the meeting, and share that with a compliance officer. And for financial services who are trying to run their business over a digital platform, that's an absolute game changer, because it now means they've got the ability to be able to do that and can still monitor those conversations. But yeah, there are a whole host of AI applications that can be integrated into RingCentral. And feel free to reach out to any of the team at RingCentral. They'd be more than happy to help. And as I mentioned, you can get more information on ringcentral.co.uk or on the RingCentral blog. We've got a whole host of articles on remote working and making sure you can work as you do normally when you're not in the office. So would love for you to take a look at some of those pieces of content.
Great. And just to finish up, David says, great session. Thank you. Glad you managed to get 100% visibility on this in the end, David. Thanks, Alex and Sonny. Ben says, have a great weekend. You too. Last point, maybe, Sonny, just easiest way to get hold of yourself and the RingCentral team would be?
Yeah, so you can go to ringcentral.co.uk. My name's Sunny Dhami, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I'm available as Sunny Dhami, so please do feel free to reach out. Would love to get some insight into how you have been coping and how your business have been coping. But if you need any more help and support from RingCentral, please do visit our website and feel free to give us a call.
Awesome. That's great. Lots of great comments coming in. Socky, thanks guys. Peter Henry, thanks for the great session. Thanks for the insight. You are all very welcome indeed. As I say, we've got next session coming up, which is another popular session coming up today, which is going to be at 12 p.m. I'm going to be hosting it. We're talking making new digital strategies authentic, and that is brought to you by Davina Dunley from who's the CEO of Crate Media. So if you'd like to join us highlighting why brand authenticity is the driving force behind every current strategy, then you just need to register at the festivalofenterprise.co.uk website like you did for this one. And it just leaves me to thank you all. Jenny, thank you as well for joining us. And Sunny, thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend, my friend.
Thank you, Alex, and thanks everyone for watching and the great questions. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, it kept you busy, didn't they? Last question. Did you get to watch the Tiger King in the end?
I did, yeah. I was definitely streaming through that and watched it.
Brilliant. I'm sure many of us have as well. Thank you, Erin. You're welcome as well. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to sign off now. And this will be, because this is always a popular question, this will be available for replay literally in about 15 seconds. And again, if you found value from this, you think somebody else can benefit from this, please send them the link. This has also been streamed live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So as soon as this ends, again, you'll be able to see it in our feed on the Festival of Enterprise Facebook, Twitter platform, so you can watch it again. Just tag people if you think you found value here, and others will be able to find value as well. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day.